The Deep Six. 6 stories from your world in 30 minutes or less. Hosted by Patty Steele and Steve Cochran. The Deep Six is on.
Welcome again to the Deep Six. 2 friends, 6 topics, about 30 minutes or so. I'm Steve Cochran. Mornings on WLS, the Big 890 in Chicago. And here's my friend Patty.
Patty Steele, that would be to you, sir. Maybe Ms. Steele. And I work in New York City on CBS FM at the big, and is it bigger? No, it's not as big as 890.
No, it's not the Big 89, but it is a big deal. It's CBS FM, so
Right.
It's a big deal.
It's the big 101.1.
Every morning in New York. And who's that goofball you're on the air with?
I can't remember. Oh, yeah, Scott Shannon.
Yeah, whatever happened to him. All right, so here's what we do for you podcast lovers. We've been on the radio a long time, and here's a bulletin. If you're really good at radio, you're pretty good at podcasting too. So we hope you like this, and we hope you'll enjoy it. And we always start with an entertainment item. Topic number 1.
The Deep Six. Story number 1.
We need to go to the follow-up file here, Patty. Do you remember way back we were talking about Jeff Bezos' yacht?
Oh, the big yacht, the $500 million yacht he was having built in the Netherlands, and wanted to have a big historic bridge ripped apart so he could sail his yacht out of the shipyard.
Turns out the town said no. The 417-foot-long 3-masted yacht, which goes by the name Y721. Oh, good name,
That's
Jeff.
catchy. Yeah.
Was relocated from the Ocean Coast Shipyard in Alblasserdam in the Greenport Yard, just 25 miles away in Rotterdam, according to a German language newspaper there, Der Spiegel. A video of this was shown because the richest man in the world had his yacht towed.
Yeah, he had it towed out at 1:00 in the morning because
it's not finished. It's not even a complete yacht.
No, right. The locals had threatened to egg it.
Right.
And so he had it slid out without the big masts attached and the rest of the stuff done late at night. And he took it a back way out instead of the quick trip to the water underneath that bridge, which he couldn't fit under. He did like a 34-mile trip through back alleyways through the water to get it to the shipyard where it will get finished.
And every one of those people are going to lose their Amazon Prime memberships over their shenanigans.
He'll see to it.
That's exactly right. The bridge that was going to be dismantled to have his yacht moved was called Die Heth, also known as the Koningshaven Bridge. I love this. And look, I got no extra grind with Jeff Bezos.
Oh, I do, but go ahead.
He's just another billionaire to me. But the idea that people said, this is our town, this is history. You're not going to tear the bridge down to move your yacht, rich guy. It's not going to happen. I love that.
Isn't that amazing? A $500 million yacht, and he has the balls to say, tear your bridge down so I can get my yacht out.
It's kind of surprising he hasn't lost his mind before, I think anyway, because when you have that kind of money, keep in mind in the late 90s, I think my timeline's right here, in the mid to late 90s at least, he was selling books on something called Amazon.com.
Out of his garage.
Out of his garage.
Yeah.
Here we are 23 years later, and he's worth $150 billion after his divorce.
Right.
So I don't know how he could be normal.
What a deal.
It does seem to me at some point you're going to, get some sort of story that goes public that Jeff Bezos was found in a diaper rocking in Central Park in New York or Grand Park in Chicago, saying goo goo gaga. And it was just something he was doing because he had snapped. Because I don't know how you can be normal.
No, I don't know how you can be normal, particularly when pretty much what he did is he just opened a really big store and it took off. And I'd love to know how much of that he's responsible for and how much of it was luck and timing and how much of it was hiring the right people, which I guess is part of the skill set.
Yeah, no, it's true. And to me, the whole secret of Amazon, right, is distribution. He cracked the code. He and his people figured out a way to get you in suburban New York and me in suburban Chicago, something in short order for a price that was equal to or less than it would cost us to go to the retail store, the brick and mortar store,
Mhm.
and we could sit in our underpants and order it.
I don't
And
sit in my
to do it with
underpants and order.
consistency. No, you sit in my underpants, which I'm cranky about.
Well, I'm convinced that the camera on my computer is watching me. So I'm rather careful unless I should put one of those little clips over it. My only problem with Amazon is I feel like they have forced it's like Home Depot sort of forcing the smaller, mom and pop
Yeah,
hardware stores,
Yep.
which I still love when you can find one because they have stuff you can't get. And it's the same thing with Amazon. They've forced so many people. Every time I say, no, I'm going to go to a store and get something, I go there. They don't have my size. They don't have my color. They don't have any of the stuff that I want. So I go home and I order on Amazon and I grit my teeth, but I do it.
Yeah, and I prefer to go to these stores and frequent these stores because politicians failed the brick and mortar part of retail
Mhm.
by allowing Amazon, and not just Amazon, but everybody online, to buy all this stuff tax free for so long. They put these mom and pop stores and literally thousands of retailers out of business.
Yeah, they totally did. I just, the moment
It's been a
comes though,
not level playing field for a long time.
no, but the moment does come when like I use these garbage bags that are they're called Mintex and they're really heavily scented with mint. And I can tell you, they do an incredible job. Sorry for the dogs. They
That's
do
all
an incredible job keeping raccoons, birds, all kinds of critters away from my garbage.
You
I
have
can't
raccoons
find
and
them.
birds in your house right now? Is that why your dogs are barking?
That's right. The dogs are barking. I can't find those in any stores around
Yeah.
me.
No,
So
that's
I
true.
get 'em-
There's products that I have found as well that I can now only get on Amazon.
Yeah. And they used to be in the store, but they're
Right.
not anymore. They even used to be in Costco. And even there, they stopped selling them there. And I find a lot of things like that I've gotten used to using that I like. They'll discontinue a color of a certain lipstick I like. And I go on Amazon and I can get it and I can get it in like sometimes same day.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you said the secret word, Costco, because later on, before we're done, I'm going to help you get a job at Costco.
Oh, I could use one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. So congratulations. Item number 2 in entertainment is if you love your kids, you've taken them on an overpriced Disney vacation. We've all done that.
But it's getting more and more overpriced.
Oh, look, it's Patty Steele and Steve Cochran of the kids. Oh, leave your wallets in your purses. Mickey needs a new pair of shoes. Oh, why am I doing? I'm doing like that old Saturday Night Live character. Remember the Bill guy? What was that?
Yeah.
They crushed all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, the cliche has come true. Disney World guests days ago said they were on It's a Small World and it broke down. They were
What?
stranded on the It's a Small World boats for over an hour. That would all be fine if not for the fact that the song never stopped.
Oh
It's
God.
a small world after.
I just got that little chill down my spine for that one. I do love that. I know it's really old school, but I still find it to be really sweet. But wow, not after an hour.
Yeah, can you see the picture? You know how all the Disney rides you get off and they take a picture of you while you were on the ride, then they try to sell you the picture?
Right.
Your
Your hair's
pulling
standing on
their
end.
hair out, right? Screaming.
Right.
Yeah. People punching each other, all because It's a Small World failed.
Yes.
And let me give you one more because we believe in the rule of 3 here at the Deep Six. One more in entertainment.
Okay.
When I see the words Jennifer Coolidge, what do you think of?
Oh my God. I love her. Jennifer Coolidge has been in so many, she was in all those great, like Best in Show and
Yep.
all that group of movies. I just love those. She's hysterical.
So the word slut doesn't come to mind?
I know where you're going, of course. So yes, it now does.
Jennifer Coolidge did an interview the other day and said because she played the world's first really widely distributed MILF in American Pie.
Mothers I'd like to frig around with.
Yeah, Stifler's mom. That she said it opened her up to sex with people like never before. And she said she slept with probably 200 people due to the fact that she was the MILF in American Pie.
Now, what about the people who knew nothing about her as a MILF? Is that a whole nother category in her list?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you lose count after 175 or so.
These are just the American Pie guys.
Yeah.
These are not the
Yeah. I don't know how she had time to do any other work. I mean, that's a lot of action.
That's a lot of action. I don't know.
Now, knowing her and her character and as a person, I'm guessing 200 is probably a little high, and she just shot the number out there. But it turned into a huge headline, and we thought we should know, or you should know, because we're bringing you the important stuff here on the Deep Six.
Yeah, she's adorable. Love her.
The Deep Six, number 2.
You and I are both news junkies.
Totally news junkie.
And CNN has had big management shakeups in the last year. Chris Licht, who kind of reinvented the CBS morning show with Gayle King,
reinvented Colbert.
Went to do Colbert and save Colbert. You know, they started off trying to figure out who Colbert was. They got Colbert on the Trumps and ass train, and they took it to the bank. So then Chris Licht gets the CNN boss job when Jeff Zucker goes away. Pick the story up there.
He's the CEO. Well, here's the thing. He's been in place for 3 months or so. I think he went in April. Now you can actually smell the desperation. I think they call it the funk of fear. CNN is in terrible shape. For the first time in 7-8 years, their profits are going to drop below the $1 billion mark for this year. And when Chris Licht came in, he said, by the end of the year, I'll have it up to 1.1 billion and we'll keep building from there. And clearly that's not going to happen. He said he wants the CNN to be less politically to the left, even though he's rumored to be courting, as we told you in another edition of the Deep Six, Stephen Colbert to come on board, who tends to be a little more to the left. But Radar Online says Licht is so desperate to win back Republican viewers and save the ratings, because they have 0 ratings, that he's begging GOP lawmakers to come back on as guests, because a lot of them feel like they're going to go on there and it's going to be a setup and they're just going to get jumped. So they say in mid-July, he went down to Washington and secretly met with a number of Republicans on the first floor of the Capitol building to plead with them to return. He said, we want to win back your trust. He said, we'll treat you fairly. And one insider said, I think he genuinely wants that to happen. Put aside ideology, he really thinks CNN sucks right now.
And he seems to be particularly after Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper. Have you seen that as well?
Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, Jim Acosta, and the people on the morning show. They say that Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer are fine with him, but those guys in particular are Anderson Cooper a little less so than the Lemons and Acostas of the world. But that's what there's been actual threats that they're going to lose their jobs. So
they do a really good job. We've talked about this before, but they do a really good job with documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
They did a partnership with Tom Hanks and his company on the Decade series. They did the 60s, the 70s, the 80s,
right,
and 90s,
right.
But Licht has sort of bridged the gap between news and entertainment. It's going to be interesting to see what he brings to this, because if he likes Wolf and Jake Tapper as much as you say, what about a series, a dating show for older people called Wolf Whistles? Where Wolf Blitzer would just whistle at women and see if they stop.
Oh yeah,
well, that would all in here.
That would be fitting for the way those networks have conducted themselves over the years. That's for sure.
What about Jake Tapper Island? Hey, who have they tapped on Jake Tapper Island?
No? I'm with you there.
Well, these are just ideas. So we'll see where CNN goes from here. MSNBC, meanwhile, is giving their big star, Rachel Maddow, 1 day of work per week.
Isn't that amazing?
She has to do 1 day of work. Monday nights is her only show. Alex Wagner, who's great, by the way.
Right.
Alex Wagner will do the Tuesday through Friday slot.
How do you think that'll go? Do you think that'll be?
It's going to be less, certainly. But Rachel Maddow somehow, I've heard $30 million. Now, look, just pure math.
Jeez.
You can't pay someone $30 million for 1 night a week of cable news television.
No.
So I don't know what else they're getting out of Rachel. But she's got to be doing something else if that number is even remotely close to true.
Well, I do think that she's going to do a number of special type programming for them. At least that's what I've heard. And don't forget, they're also talking about bringing in the folks from the Morning Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. I somehow they believe that would save them in the morning. The big problem there is getting them away from MSNBC.
Yeah, right.
Because he apparently tried that before when he was with doing the CBS morning show. He actually wanted them instead of Gayle King, and they could not get out of their contract with NBC. So who knows what their contract looks like now?
I'll be honest, and I know Scarborough's very popular.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever sat him down like you and I were sat down a long time ago.
Right.
And said, your question must be shorter than 45 minutes. And everything can't be about you. It's almost a drinking game, like when you watch Joe Scarborough.
She's kind of the same way.
Yeah, but Joe Scarborough, see how long it takes before he mentions he was in Congress, and then time his questions. Yeah. I mean, they're just forever. But they're a marketable bunch. All right, let's move on to what you would absolutely expect us to do for topic number 3. The topic is rats.
Rats. So I was driving to work one morning here in New York City, and I get to work around 4:30. And as I turned up my street, because I park on a side street right outside my building, I looked at the car in front of me and I saw an enormous cluster of rats, like teeming rats underneath the car. And I'm like, I can't get out.
Is it still dark out at this point?
Sure. It's 4:30 in the morning and I have open-toed shoes on.
Totally creepy. And there's a school of rats underneath the car in front of you.
Yeah, like an intense school, like a university.
Right.
And so I finally thought, okay, I'll honk the horn. I honk the horn and they look at me like, what do you need? We're not in your way. And but they kind of wandered up onto like the sidewalk and in between all these planters that are there. And I held my breath, jumped out of the car, grabbed my stuff and ran across the street and went inside. And I texted a friend of mine who works on the CBS AM news station in my building. And I said, there are rats teeming under your car. He said, I know, they were on the street when I pulled up this morning too. And he said, it's what we're living in right now in New York City. But then he sent me this article that's in the New York Times, and it's really interesting. They were talking about not only do we have jillions of rats here, but we've got this problem with them getting into cars. So they like climb up into your engine. One woman said that she had a fairly new car. She said the check engine light came on. She brought it to the mechanic and she said, we popped the hood. I found chicken bones, pieces of bread, part of a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich just sitting in there.
And one rat flipped over on his back named Otis, who was just belching and smiling.
Exactly. And she said, not only do they like to crawl up, the guy told her crawl up into the engine because it's warm if it was a cold day. More importantly, and this is something I didn't know, in most new cars now, the insulation used on wiring is soy-based. And this guy said that is like catnip to a rat.
So they just get up in there and they bring their lunch, maybe their dinner, and what, the wiring is dessert?
Yeah, the wiring is like an appetizer. And they get up there, they park all their stuff. After they belch over the bacon, egg, and cheese, they lean over and
Bobby, pull my finger, huh? Yeah.
I need a little soy.
Right.
And they said that is one of the problems with not only rats on the street, but also why they're getting into cars. They're not trying to steal them. But
obviously we have more than our fair share of rats in Chicago as well. Mm-hmm. And even with the disparity in size, because New York City is 3 or 4 or 5 times the size of Chicago. One of the problems New York has is that you put the garbage out on the street and the garbage can go out very early in some cases. Are they changing
4 p.m. At 4 p.m. That is
4 p.m. the day before.
Yeah, 4 p.m. the day before that's the earliest of any.
That's a lot of time for
city.
Rats to get on Facebook and say, "Hey, fellas, I got a party. Let's get down here."
That's what the mayor said. He said it's like a nightclub for rats. They just have all this time between 4 p.m. and in some cases later than 6 p.m. 6 a.m. the next day. And sometimes, like I come out this morning, I come out from work at maybe 10 or 11. And the garbage guys are out there then taking stuff off our sidewalk. So that stuff, ostensibly could have been out there for 15 hours.
Imagine what they see.
Yeah.
Now, in Chicago, we're a city of alleys.
Mhm.
The garbage trucks go up and down the alleys,
Oh, that's
and they
nice.
pick the garbage up there. But that, of course, means the rats are in the alleys.
Do you run
So-
through the alleys? Ever?
I do. I run through and I sing, "Ben, the two of us need look no more." So, but here's the thing. I may have told you the story. There's a famous restaurant here called Portillo's.
Hmm.
And Portillo's is like a Chicago hot dog stand is how this started. And it's
Okay.
just good Midwestern Chicago food. Sandwiches and hot dogs and chicken and things like that. Pasta.
Yeah.
They've got a great chopped salad, by the way. Try it.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, I took my son and his buddies to a show. It was a stand-up comedy show with Jim Gaffigan. So we go backstage, we say at a gym, we're leaving. And of course, at that point, my son's, 17, 18. They're all hungry because a 17 or a 16 or an 18-year-old male, they have to eat every 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Or they drop.
Right. So as we're leaving, we go to the drive-through for this Portillo's, which winds around the alley in the back of the building in downtown Chicago. And as we wind around the alley, and it's taken a long time, it's Friday night. It's like 11 o'clock. There's a lot of drunks. And as we wind around the alley, I look to my right and down, and there's a rat on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
And the rat moves up with each car. Just like the rat's in its own separate drive-through. It would just go up 3 or 4 and stop. And it would wait and look over. And then it'd go up 3 or 4 feet and stop and look over, waiting for you to toss something out of the car. But literally, that rat invented the rat drive-through. He didn't even know it at the time, but he was just waiting for a handout. And to give you a sense of rats in Chicago, there's a tour here called the Ugly Buildings Tour.
Oh.
The Ugly Buildings Tour is done by a guy named Mike McMains in Chicago. And he takes tourists on walking tours of the city. And there's beautiful architecture in Chicago.
Oh, I know. I love it.
This thing called the Architecture Tour, which is probably the most popular tour in the city, where you get on a boat and you go on the Chicago River and points out the buildings. But Mike McMain shows you the really crappy buildings, the really shitty buildings.
Yay.
So, but one of the things Mike did, he also got this inspiration from a kid, is he's now set to kick off for the first time. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It started a week or so ago. It's the Chicago Underground Chicago Tour. And it takes you on a tour and tells you not only about underground Chicago, but also the history of Chicago's rats. It starts at the Alta store on Michigan Avenue, and it winds around and ends at the Monroe Street Red Line train stop. And hopefully you won't be bitten or have rabies by the time you're done.
Well, I would recommend boots and a rabies shot.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Chicago Plus Rats Tour. Google it by name, and you'll be able to see the delightful side, the underbelly of this fine city.
The Deep Six, number 4.
This is interesting. This back in 2018, Congress ordered the FAA, Federal Aviation Authority, to establish minimum dimension. Is it authority or agency?
Agency.
FAA. Okay. To establish minimum dimensions for airplane seats. They said we need it within a year.
So this is how wide your ass would be, basically?
Yes. And at the time, Congress said the agency wasn't acting urgently enough to address what they called the densifying airplane cabins.
Huh.
The densification. I have like the densification of my ass. Right. Well, here's the thing. Here we are 4 years later. The FAA has yet to comply with that request. So now what they're trying to do is really force them to do it within a certain amount of time. They're giving them a deadline to figure out exactly how they can set a minimum size. And then they're going to ask for a 90-day comment period to get feedback from all of us about how we feel squished in a seat. And I was telling you earlier that the thing that's amazing is they do this thing and it's called seat pitch on airplanes. And like Spirit Airlines only has a 28-inch seat pitch, which means from a given point on your seat to the same given point on the seat ahead of you is only 28 inches. So you hold up and you look at 28 inches, that's going to fit your ass, your legs, your tray table, and the back of the other seat. And that it's absolutely insane.
Ridiculous.
So,
and if you got a belly on you, you're not dropping the tray table down.
Well, that's what I always wonder. I'm only 5 feet tall, and I wonder about people who get on who are, you know, 6 feet, six
Yeah.
three, 200, 250 pounds plus. I don't even know how you fit in these seats anymore. They've gotten
That's
smaller
ridiculous.
and smaller. And one guy with this group called flyersrights.org says we estimate only about 20% of the population can reasonably fit in these seats. And he says, it's a matter of comfort, it's a matter of psychological well being, and most importantly, emergency evacuation. Because if you can't get out from inside the seats and you maybe are blocking other people trying to get out,
Sure.
it and I didn't realize this. They have like a minimum amount of time, or maximum rather amount of time it has to take to evacuate an airplane. And so they test it all the time, but they don't use people who are elderly or people who are very young. They don't use people that have any physical disabilities.
These are Olympic athletes.
Right. They say because they don't want to endanger them by even enacting, like, doing setting up an evacuation that isn't real, because they don't want to hurt the people.
Sure.
Well, what about people on real airplanes?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And is there any push to make this end? Because it seems it's a finite answer to the question. You can't limit seats any more than you already have. You've already put the maximum number of people with a minimum amount of space on planes. And you mentioned this, I think earlier. I don't know if you mentioned it in this chunk of this show, but this is why people are losing their minds. Not completely.
Yeah,
Part of the
because they
reason
get
people
angry.
are so stressed out.
You're trapped. You feel so trapped, and that creates a really anxious kind of situation. And then if you're sitting on an airplane, say on the tarmac for 6 hours, it gets even worse. And sometimes they don't feed you, or sometimes there's not enough air conditioning or water. And it really gets people, it puts them around the bend. And I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what they're going to be able to do. At one point, there was even talk of selling, you can't call them seats, selling tickets, where you would be, for short jumps, you would be standing the whole time and they would strap you to a wall.
Yeah, there's a European airline called Ryanair that came up with an actual artist rendering of that, where you're strapped into these stand-up bars. It looks like a carnival ride.
Right. When you go on those things what do you call those things that spin around and you get inside that little cage and stand up and it presses you against the wall? There you go.
Like a different version of a tilt-a-whirl.
Right. Exactly.
So, but it's going to count on you. And this is why you got to vote, people. It's going to count on you being on top of this, because by the time they get it to a point where they can't do it anymore, it's going to be too late to tell the ancient members of Congress that this needs to be shut down. Because here's a bulletin. They're not flying in the middle seat. They're
Right.
not dealing with what you're dealing with.
The Deep Six, number 5.
So this family in West Sussex, England, really upset when their puppy dog escaped from their yard.
Sure.
Peter and Paula Closure said that they were worried when Bonnie, their 5-year-old beagle mix, ran through an open gate.
Oh,
Friends, little Bonnie. Friends and family looked everywhere, called the cops, the vets, animal shelters. Well, as it turns out, Bonnie ran out and some guy was driving by with his 2 dogs on the way to a dog show in Surrey, England, and didn't have time to stop and do anything about it. So he picked up the dog and he brought her to the event with his dogs, and he posted a photo of her on Facebook to announce that he had found the dog. And in the meantime, he decided, this is a really cute dog. I'm going to enter her in the dog show. Well, Bonnie wound up winning 3rd place in the best rescue dog competition, and her parents found her they're not fur parents. She's their fur baby. They found her on Facebook. And so they all got together and everybody was happy. So Bonnie runs out the gate, comes home with a big yellow 3rd place ribbon.
A yellow 3rd place ribbon for a dog that ran away.
Yes.
That
I hear you.
That is one ingenious pup right there.
That's right.
How is that not a movie already?
I know. It's so cute. She's pretty
Tremendous.
adorable. Yeah.
Tremendous. Did the dog come back going, yeah, look, I got a story to tell you.
Here's
You
the
would not
reason I
believe
left.
what happened to me.
She's like Cinderella. You're not going to let me go to the ball. I'll get there somehow.
That is tremendous. I love that.
Mm.
All right. How about one more? You go to Costco once or twice, don't you?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. I go there all the time. In fact, it's kind of funny because my kids are a little bit older. They're not always in the house as much as they were when they were little, but I still can't get it through my head that I have to slow down on the buying. So my thing with Costco is I go in and sometimes I buy things I've never even heard of. Forget that I don't need it. I've never heard of it before, but I go, wow, that's cool. I'll buy that. But I also have a tendency to buy the big boxes. Like I'll go in and I'll buy, 6 pounds of bacon, or I'll buy a box of, I don't know, ice cream sandwiches, but it's got like 24 of them. And my kids will be like, how long have these been in here?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned ice cream sandwiches. I got
Why?
2 stories. One
Oh.
first, Costco first. Let's go through what it's going to take for you. They're not just going to hire you because you're Patty Steele.
No.
There's certain things you need to do and need to be able to do to
Uh-huh.
work at Costco.
They might hire me because I'm an executive member.
That's possible. There's a strength, because you're small but you're powerful. There's
you
a
bet.
strength and age requirement.
Okay.
According to Indeed, you got to be at least 18. Are you
Okay.
18?
Last check. Yes.
Okay. And also you've got to be able to lift 30 pounds and do it consistently over the course of the time that you're working. 30 pounds.
How's-
30
What's
pounds?
that? So for 8 hours, I have to keep lifting 30 pounds?
Well, over the course of a natural shift, they have a test that they put you through to make sure that you can continue to move 30 pounds of whatever.
Okay. So it's not just one, put
No.
it down and I'm done.
I mean, 30 pounds, you can do that. Right?
Yeah, I know I could.
All right, good. All right. Now, the people that man the front door, the folks that come in, you got to flash your card going in and
Right,
flash your
sure.
receipt going out.
Right.
They have to keep track of how many people are entering the store. It's not
Oh,
just looking at your card.
so that you can't spend the night.
Yes. The more people coming in, the more cash registers they'll open. It's the flow of employees.
Oh, how smart is that? That's
Pretty smart.
fascinating.
Pretty smart. They also have specific food handling rules specific to Costco. For starters, anytime somebody leaves their assigned area wearing an apron, the apron must be thrown in a hamper in exchange for a clean one, regardless of whether it got dirty out of concern of contamination. If you work in the food portion of the store,
I like that. That makes
Some
me feel
Costco-
safe.
yeah, some Costco employees have also complained about what they believe are unnecessary rules that result in excessive food waste. Workers use tongs to serve up slices of pizza. There are many instances in which customers change their minds before paying, and the unwanted food ends up getting trashed. No matter if anyone never, ever physically touched a pizza, once the slice hits the register counter, it's over. Can't be
Wow.
put back in the rack.
We're done. Well,
See-
maybe that's like a sneeze guard, sort of like, what if, people sneeze on the counter or something?
Hey, that'd be a good name for a store that only serves salad. Sneeze guard salad. The membership people, at Costco, got to have the card, right?
Sure.
Memberships at Costco are annual, but any Costco employee has the power to take your membership away.
What?
Let's say you go in
Because
on
I'm
sample
spending
day.
too much?
No, you're going in on sample day and you're lurking. Maybe you brought in
Oh.
a sample hat where you get one sample, you go back a second time. Oh, these are so good. You circle and come back a third time, but you put on your hat that you brought from your car like you're a completely different
Whoa.
person.
Or you have plastic bags lining your coat pockets.
Yep.
I have never done that. I swear to you, but I can see it.
All employees have the ability to leave notes on a member's account for future reference to find out a way to say, Patty Steele, no more for you.
Get
No Costco
out.
for you.
Well, I don't think they'll do it to me because I spend way too much money there, as I'm frequently reminded of in discussions at my house.
The rotisserie chickens are big news at Costco
Mhm.
because it's like $2 for a chicken, right?
No, it's a little more than that,
costly.
but they're big and delicious and juicy, and yes.
So Costco employees have to throw out just a huge amount of food. The legendary Costco rotisserie chickens are only allowed to sit out for how long? How long? How long? Tell me, how long?
I'm going to
Come on.
say an hour, 2 hours.
2 hours max.
Well,
If they're
I
not
do know though,
resistant 2 hours, they toss them.
they toss them, or do they shred them for use in other, because they also give you can buy these packets of shredded chicken to put in, and they give you all the fixings to make like salads or
They do
tacos.
say, look, you know your Costco. They do
Yeah.
say they try to repurpose the chicken before throwing them out for things like salads and chicken noodle soup.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
All food workers must have spotless fingers and
Uh-oh.
are finger checked every day.
How do mine look? Can you
Why are
see
you
them?
flipping me off right now? Why are you
Well,
t-
yeah, that's
why are you
but
telling
I
us
really
I'm
want you to
number
look at
one?
all my fingers. So
Yeah,
do
your
they
fingers
look?
are fine. Your
Oh,
fingers
they're
are
fine.
lovely. Yeah, you're
Oh,
lovely for
wait,
Costco.
thank you.
Per the employee handbook, Costco requires that employees' hands must be free of everything. No nail polish or acrylic nails, no jewelry with clean trimmed fingernails. Some employees feel the rule goes too far. You know what Costco says?
What?
Yeah, too far? Well, why don't you go too far and get out and leave your membership card behind because
Well,
we want to be healthy for our people.
Well, I have to tell you, it's considered one of the best places to work, and there are guys. They also check you as you're leaving. They go over your checklist to make sure that what you have in the basket is what you've paid for. I have guys at mine that I've seen there for over 25 years. Same guys.
Really?
Warm, sweet. When I had little babies in the carriage when I would go there, they'd do a little smiley face on the receipt. They
Wow.
don't give me smiley faces on my receipt anymore, but whatever.
Did Costco start in New Jersey? It may have, right?
I don't know, but I do know that the guy that started it was genius. He and tireless. He would travel all over the country and drop in on stores all over the place and really go through it to make sure it was up to the standards he wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
That was Bob Costco, is his name. And let me give you one more. If you go to Costco and you go, where's my stuff? It's because product is constantly moved around.
Yeah.
Think where the razors are, for instance. You think you got to think again. Costco employees are asked to move products around to create a bit of a treasure hunt because what happens? If you have to look for what you came in to buy, you're going to see things you didn't know you were going to buy, and you're going to buy more.
Exactly, which I do all the time. That's interesting. They also will periodically remove things that I desperately want and go back there for, but then I find something similar and I go for that. Like my ice cream sandwiches, I might go in and try to find my big box of ice cream sandwiches and wind up with a box of fudgesicles or whatever.
You're a fudge sickle. And I'm glad you mentioned ice cream sandwiches. August 2nd was National Ice Cream Sandwich Day. So let's end on that for summer with topic number 6.
The Deep Six. Number 6.
The ice cream sandwich was invented where?
In Sandwich, England.
New York City.
Oh, really?
New York City street vendors started selling ice cream sandwiches in the late 1800s. Nobody knows the exact date, but the earliest versions of them were called Hokey Pokeys. And street vendors were selling them on the Bowery in New York City. Well, that's nice. The humble sandwich was just ice cream held together with 2 pieces of paper.
Really?
Cost 1 penny. You'd peel the paper off and I guess lick the ice cream.
Yeah. I like the little cookie thing on it. I'd rather.
The earliest known ice cream sandwich recipe used sponge cake.
Huh.
According to the Food Network, the earliest known ice cream sandwich recipe wasn't made with wafers or biscuits, but 2 slices of sponge cake. Hey, you know what that sounds like? That sounds low-cal to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, an ice cream cake.
They were developed as a cheap treat, but they soon became a staple at high-end eateries. They were so delicious and so unusual and so new, Wall Street workers demanded them. So a couple of the hanky, swanky, fancy restaurants in New York City, in the financial district, they went, oh yes, the ice cream sandwich, that'll be $37.50.
Exactly. And that was pre-pandemic.
Have you had the ice cream cookie sandwich?
Yes. Oh my God. Are you kidding? I love those. In fact, I've even made them because I've made homemade cookies and then gotten really great ice cream and slathered it on and then served them. So
that's exactly right. That's the recipe. You put ice cream in between 2 giant chocolate chip cookies and you eat it like a sandwich.
Yep. Exactly.
And then you hate yourself for days.
Yeah. Well, not really. Because then you go back at it.
A baseball stadium food vendor gets a lot of credit for inventing the modern day ice cream sandwich. That's only because Wikipedia printed it. According to various accounts, it was a guy named Jeremy Newberg, an ice cream vendor at a Pirates game, who supposedly created the vanilla and chocolate ice cream sandwich, a perfect block of vanilla ice cream gently placed between 2 rectangular chocolate wafers. He did that back in the 40s on his own, didn't make a dime off it.
Why?
Well, because the Pittsburgh Pirates said, you work for us, we own it.
Really?
Yeah. Said it was an
Wow.
ode to his grandfather. He used to invent cool stuff like that. And finally, other countries have their own versions of the ice cream sandwich.
Uh-huh.
Treats have inspired countries like Australia and Ireland and Singapore, Israel, Uruguay, Iran, and Vietnam to concoct their own. In Iran, there's something called the Bastani Nuni. Now, you might want to know.
You sounded Italian when you said that.
Right. You might want to know why there was an Italian guy in
Right.
Baghdad.
There you go.
Oh, that's in Iraq. Never mind. I got a real geography problem going on here.
Oh, dear.
Tehran. This is the only Italian guy in Tehran, okay?
Okay.
It's saffron and rosewater ice cream served between two wafers and dipped in pistachios.
That actually sounds really good.
Think
You don't like that?
Vietnam street vendors sell it as well. It's ice cream smashed between two pieces of bread. Sounds like a sandwich to me.
Mhm.
And topped with crushed peanuts.
Yeah, I'm not a peanut fan, so I don't like that one.
The others we don't have time to get into, but in Australia, it involves a kangaroo, a pocket, and don't get kicked in the face.
Let me think. None
Yeah.
of that would I buy like the 24 count box of, but
I love ice cream. I'll eat ice cream, 24/7,
yeah,
365
I
days.
like ice cream.
Your ice cream.
I know.
Um,
What is this? Your
I don't
ice
know.
cream. Your
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. It's the summer cold I'm getting over. Anyway, that is the Deep Six. 6
Mhm.
topics. Couple of friends kicking them around in 30 minutes, and we hope you like it. Patty, take us out.
I will take us out. Where are we going? We're gonna go get some ice cream.
We're going to get some ice cream. We're leaving.
Okay.
Get some ice cream. Yeah.
Good.
All right,
See you
good.
later.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. The Deep Six. Subscribe, rate, follow, or review at pattysteele.com or cochranshow.com.